Qi is a Chinese word. It's also ki in Japanese, and it means energy. It's used to mean lots of different things. Energy, life force, healing energy, all sorts of things like that. But Qi is just a big word that means energy. In Japanese they say, how is your Qi? Where we say, how are you doing? And it's the same sort of thing. The Gong means your practice, what you do with it. So in reality, Qigong will cover anything that means you're working with your own energy. So most of the martial arts would actually fall under a Qigong banner if you were going to be sort of using the language. But what happens in this country is people tend to say something like, oh, Qigong is a bit like Tai Chi, because people haven't heard of Qigong so much. But in actual fact, it's the other way around, that Tai Chi is a form of Qigong, because Qigong is so big. So Qigong is just an energy practice, and it covers all sorts of different ways of doing it. It can just be a meditation practice. So what Sarah does is some movements and the meditation, but she does Qigong meditation. It can be much more like the Tai Chi, which I'm getting a sense is more what Alex's way of doing it is. Yeah. It can even be a much more martial thing. So the Kung Fu you did possibly was like a Qigong Kung Fu. I don't know which school you were at. And I definitely don't know everything about Qigong. But it's basically a way of using movement and the mind to help the energy flow in our body. And then people go, oh, I don't know about the energy flowing in my body. Of course energy flows in our body, that's what keeps us alive. I mean, our heartbeat, it beats because there's energy in the heart. That's the most basic. And then rippling out with the blood is all sorts of forms of qi, or energy. So the basics is that the body is alive, energy moves through it. There's also heat in the body, and the heat is part of the qi. So the qi is all the bits of the body that we can't really put a physical shape to. So it's the movement, the energy, the warmth, the thoughts we have, the feelings we have, all that is part of our qi. And to make our qi more harmonious, there's very simple moves that we use. There's also just thinking about nice things is also a Qigong practice, which is why we always bring objects of beauty to our Qigong classes. So you've got something that the eye can settle on and just go. And the way I teach Qigong, I use that mindset, the thinking part, quite a lot. But I'll come back to that. So Qigong could be 8,000 years old. They found a pot that was 5,000 or 6,000 BC, and on the pot is a drawing of people waving their arms around. So they think that might be a picture of people doing Qigong. They do know that 3,000 BC, so 5,000 years old, there was a practice which they called the heaven and earth dance. So it was connecting the ground and the sky, or the matter and the energy. We don't really know what. There wasn't writing 3,000 years BC. So this is coming out of the Himalayas and China. So the Qigong practice is what fell down into China. And my personal theory is, out of the Himalayas, where the Vedic medicine started, was a theory of earth, human, and heaven. And that was the sort of basic elements of the theory. And as it tumbled down into China, it was a bit more like British weather, so people stayed standing up. When it tumbled down into India, it's hotter, so they lay down and did yoga on the floor. So that's the sort of difference between yoga and Qigong. It's something of the same practice. And actually, if you demystify the word yoga, it also means looking after our energy. So all these practices are really just ways of ourselves looking after our energy. And I also think it's really important you take what's good for you. And if you found a class that you like, or a teacher you like, or an action you like, or a thought you like, have it. And Just be eclectic. Gather what you like. And if someone says, this is the way, you think, I think there are many ways up the mountain or to help my energy. There is no one way. There's an expression in Chinese that says there's 36,000 forms of Qigong. But that's in the old days when 36,000 was a really big number. It's not such a big number anymore. So, Qigong came out of a practice which was a movement practice, which is what we know, but there was all sorts of philosophical parts to it. And the bit you probably heard of is yin and yang. So the circle with the big circle with a squiggle through it, half black, half white with 2 dots. Yeah, everyone knows the yin yang sign. So the yin yang sign is a symbol that represents the Taoist philosophy. Some people call Taoism a religion. Some people call it a philosophy. It's a little bit of both, really, because there are Taoist priests and monks. So, and the yin-yang is their sort of underlying principle, of which a lot of people use Qigong as a practice to go with it. They also use Qigong in Chinese Buddhism, so it's a big crossover there with Taoism and Chinese Buddhism. And yin is the aspect of the earth, the ground, the land, our physical manifestation, our body, our weight. And the yang is the light, the sun, the heavens energy, and like I just said, all the qi aspects of the body, all the parts of the body that aren't material. And the squiggly line gives us that sense that they mix together. So the actual Chinese writing for yin and yang was the shady side of the hill and the sunny side of the hill. And it's the same hill. So if we think about the shady side of our body, it's all the material stuff, the blood inside, the organs, the physicalness of our being, the bit of us that actually goes down towards gravity. That's all the yin aspects, and the Qigong is very supportive for that. We use the techniques to help the body be supported. There's an aspect of Qigong that connects with food, but we're not going to go with that now, but healthy eating is also a good idea. And the yin, the yang aspect is the sunny side of the hill. So it's like when the light shines, that's when the body wakes up, the mind wakes up, we look at the sunshine, we think about nice things, or not necessarily, we just think. And the energy rises, and so there are practices in Qigong to help the yang. And the aim is to get them in balance, so that we're not overwhelmed by our body, we're not in pain, we're not connected to the earth and suffering, or we're not space cadets and out there just thinking about thoughts and forgetting about our body, being dissociated. But both of them are intertwined and they come together. So there are many practices. So the oldest forms that we know about, like I said, is the heaven and earth dance. There are many healing forms that come from the Taoist practice. I'm going to teach one of those later. It's sort of connecting to the earth, connecting to the heavens, and allowing the energy to go through the body. You can do it just with your mind, so it can be a meditation, so you can just sit and think. In fact, we'll do 1 minute meditation now. So however you're sitting, just have a sense of you don't even need to change your position. Have a sense of your weight on the chair, in the feet, in the elbows if you've got your arms on the wrist or on your hands on your lap. Weight of the jaw drops. The out breath, as you breathe out you sigh, or you just breathe out and there's a sense that your weight goes down and connects to the earth. And then take a breath in. Take an easy breath in. Maybe look at the flowers. Maybe smile. Maybe look out the window. And then as you breathe in, there's almost a sense that you lift up slightly. And that in-breath gives you a quality of the energy, the breath of heaven, the light. And that breath is happening continuously. You breathe in, you bring in oxygen, you bring in the breath of life, you bring in Qi, whatever way you like to manifest that in your mind, you bring in. As you breathe out, the diaphragm relaxes, any part of the body can relax through the fascia, through the whole body, and you connect back to the earth. And that's an ongoing yin-yang cycle. Let's do 3 breaths. Great. Okay, so that's the foundation of Qigong. So then it all gets much more elaborate, and there are particular moves that get the energy flowing in the meridians. So if you do acupuncture or shiatsu, we use the Chinese meridian set. In yoga, the meridian set's very similar because it's the same sort of body, but the maps are slightly different. But the moves or the stretches in yoga are there to sort of get that feeling of the qi and the relaxation of the body into every part, into all the organs, into all the limbs. And in Chinese they talk about the 5 limbs, 2 legs, 2 arms, and the head. So we then have more complex movements, which sounds like Alex is doing quite a lot of, which is really great, because that can go on as a lifetime practice. I'm going to stop. Any questions so far? Is there anything particularly you want some more information about what I've said so far? I can talk about this for months, so I'm trying to just give you an overview. So when you said, can we find out more about it, what sort of questions did you want answering?
I'm not sure that I came with exact questions in my head. It was more a case of coming and doing a class is very, you do the class, rather than there being a lot of
sense of the philosophy,
or, you know, sort of, I mean, I've already learned from what you've said, I wish I had the recording. You know, that
Maybe we can send it out.
Maybe you can send it out. That it's a much, you know, encompassing thing, which is amazing, you know, that it can actually be anything that is a type of practice of some sort.
Yeah.
So, you've said a lot.
Great. Good.
And I want you to say more.
I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll tell you about my practice in that case. So, like I said, I started my practice back in the 80s because I was studying shiatsu. My friend came back from China with a form which was not like I also did Tai Chi, so I had a sense of my Tai Chi practice was about half an hour long, and I've completely forgotten the end of it now. I can do the first bit. And then I go, what? And then my friend came back from China. She was studying acupuncture, and she'd learnt a form called, it was actually called the congenital form of Qigong, which we hated, so we changed it to pre-heaven Qigong, because that sounds more nice. And it's 9 moves that were quite complicated, but 9 moves with some breathing in between each one, which I did for years, every day, every morning. And then, as I said, I got quite ill, and I changed my practice around to be more healing and more me-focused. So these days, what I do is I go out in my garden, which isn't very, this is a garden really. I go out under the trees, by the brambles, where I've got a little bit of a space. And I say hello to the universe. I do my practice, which could be just waving my arms. Sometimes it's just standing. It's really me saying good morning to the universe. I do have a cup of tea with me. I've made a little table to put it on. So I'm not completely, pure. But there's a sense that what I do is I listen to my body and I listen to the universe, and I just have a sense of the spiritual side of the practice. Because as you engage with the energy side, you start to think, well, how far does this energy of me reach? And any of you who've got family that have gone beyond your place, I mean, you've got family in Australia, you can still be in contact with them. If you've got family back home now, there's a sense that there's a connection. You think, well, that's part of my chi. My chi reaches as far as I can think. And then you start to think, oh, that's a big chi. So it's that sense of the part of me that's inside my skin and the part of me that connects out. And being able to let those be fluid. And the more healthy we are, the more our chi can expand and contract. So when you're on the bus or walking down the road, the chi should be pretty much in your body, pretty much contained. So you're not, like Alexandra said earlier, spaced out, because that's not healthy. But when you're sitting in meditation or sitting on your own at the top of a mountain, your chi can be as big as you want. Or at home, where you're safe. So being able to bring your chi in and out is a skill. And the movements help you practice that. Maybe without the consciousness. It doesn't have to be conscious. We get better at it. And yoga does exactly the same thing. I mean, my practice is Qigong, but I do some Scaravella yoga because she's great. Totally love Vanda Scaravella. Yes, so my practice at the moment is I just stand under the trees and wave my arms around. But what I'm going to share with you, there's a consciousness that we connect to the ground and have a sense of connecting to our land, not just the ground. It's like our earth, our home. Whatever words work for you, it's finding your own practice that is really important. Breathing is a really important part of it. They say that the chi and the breath move together. So we'll do a little bit more breathing in a moment. And the last thing is this having a lightness of thought and trying to let go of the worries. That's a bad way of saying it. Letting go of the worries. You don't even have to try. And it's hard to put them down sometimes, I know, full well. And if you have a daily practice, there's a sense of also coming back. Of course I've got a teacher. My teacher says something about you come back to the practice where you left it. So whatever you were doing yesterday, what has happened through the day, you come back and you're present again with yourself. So it's a really good way of checking in. And you can go, whoa, I feel a bit grubby or unhappy or clenched up. I better do a bit more. Oh, I feel great today. That's fine. I'll get on with my day. So it's a real way of checking in. And then we can use the practices, whatever they are, moving your arms, stretching, sitting, to help the chi and the body become in harmony, like the yin-yang sign. Okay, I don't think I've got a lot more to say. I think we'll just start doing some in a moment. Unless there's any other questions. Yeah.
Why particular movements?
Okay, so different movements work different meridians.
Yeah.
So we're going to
explain that.
That'd
be great.
I'll talk you through them when we do them. Yeah. Any other questions? What I suggest is if you feel up for it, we'll walk round the